So you asked me, what do I love about the culture of Portsmouth? I think for me it's the contrasts in Portsmouth that make it compelling and sometimes challenging in equal measure. Portsmouth sits here at the foot of the South Downs National Park, surrounded by beautiful open seascape, and yet we're one of the most densely populous cities in the United Kingdom. It's a city that's considered for and revered for its heritage and its history. Mary Rose, HMS Victory, HMS Warrior, the historic dockyard, Dickens' birthplace, the D-Day story. All of that wonderful history, and yet it is one of the most vibrant and youthful cities in the UK. We have an amazing youth scene. We have 22,000 students coming and adding to the youthfulness and the diversity of the city. So it's a young and vibrant town, as well as being a town a city that respects its heritage. We're also regarded as a city of big industry, the Navy, the port, big defence industries. And yet actually we have a thriving community of small businesses, small enterprises, makers, small cultural practitioners. In fact, more people are involved working in the arts, in culture and leisure in the city of Portsmouth than are actually employed in the dockyard. And that's a fact that not many people understand or recognise. We're also a very diverse city culturally. As a geographic island, we have an amazing mix of people within our communities and within our neighbourhoods who bump along wonderfully and form this wonderfully cohesive multicultural town. There are people who've been here for hundreds of years. My wife's family have been here for over 200 years. I'm a relative newcomer at only 35. So there are locals and there are newcomers. There is also a wonderful mix of countries of birth, of ethnicity, of faith within the city. And all of that as a gateway city makes it a really exciting and vibrant place to be and adds to our wonderfully diverse cultural mix. We're also, in contrast, a great literary city. We have claim to, of course, Dickens, to Doyle, links to H.G. Wells, to Kipling, and our own homegrown stable of great writers. And that's ironic in a city where a quarter of adults have literacy skill challenges, and it's reported that 1,500 kids in the city don't actually own a book. So I think the future will be one of a much more joined up cultural scene in Portsmouth in 2040, where all of the city's cultural practitioners and communities and constituents come together, be it people in communities and community groups, individuals, schools, our cultural practitioners, our cultural organisations who are already delivering world-class and outstanding programmes. We'll all be collaborating side by side to make the cultural offer so much bigger than it currently is now. I also think there'll be a coming together and a breaking down of boundaries between performing art, visual art, music, libraries, entertainment and leisure. I also think the cultural provision within the city will be much more united and joined up from a geographic point of view. Culture won't just belong to the more affluent and well-heeled parts of the city like Southsea and Old Portsmouth. Culture will be in all of the wards and all of the neighbourhoods in the city. And in the north of the city, we often forget that Portsmouth isn't just an island. We do have the wonderful communities of Cosham, of Paulsgrove, of Drayton and Farlington, and they will be joined up in the city-wide cultural programme. I also think we'll have a much better funded cultural provision within the city of Portsmouth, with many more opportunities for inward investment, larger grant aid programmes in a much more joined up way, cultural economy growing within the city and building its own economic base, and also in a more collaborative way, working across the whole of the southeast of England's cultural economy, working collaboratively with other regional cities. I think Portsmouth in the future will also be a very much ground up cultural provision, where with investment in education and access for young people and children into culture, that we'll be working on programs of education, development, nurturing, artistic support and development through collaboration, investment in infrastructure and investment in facilities, be they maker spaces, studio spaces, live work spaces. I believe that all of these things will come together to allow Portsmouth to deliver and support its culture in a ground up way rather than it being provided from the top down. I also believe that Portsmouth will become a regenerated city with culture sitting at the heart of one of the threads of the regeneration. Regeneration isn't just about bricks and mortar. Regeneration is about changing hearts and changing minds and changing attitudes. And I think we've already done some exciting regenerative programs. If you have examples like the Hot Wall Studio, which is a great exemplar of how a brownfield part of the city's real estate can be turned into a thriving cultural space. Most importantly, I think Portsmouth is going to become a city of culture. Many of us would argue that it already is, but simply that those of us from within the city don't yet recognise it. We lack self-confidence as a city in our own cultural ability, but I believe all of that will change as the cultural provision within the city grows. Through collaboration and through delivering world-class and excellent programs, I believe that our confidence as a city will grow and we will recognise what we're truly capable of. And yes, ultimately we could be a city of culture in the same way that Hull has been a city of culture. It has been argued that city of culture status is something that transforms cities, and even just the taking part, the unification of all of the cultural threads of the city coming together can build that sense of self-confidence and that sense of identity. I think Steve Pitt had it right when he said, the time for Portsmouth to enter the competition for the city of culture is the time when the rest of the country says to itself, if Portsmouth are going to enter the competition, we won't bother. To achieve all of this, we need a process of change and evolution. And as one of those initiatives, Portsmouth Creates was set up. Portsmouth Creates is a community interest company that I currently represent. So Portsmouth Creates has been set up as an agent of collaboration. And we're there to champion, to enable, and to provide a catalyst for those collaborations to take place. We're here to try and grow the cultural cake within the city, not to take any kind of slice of it. And what we want to do is to create this joined up way of thinking across all of the city's cultural provision. As an example of the citywide collaboration that we want to foster, later on this year in November, we're hosting and facilitating We Shines, which will be a citywide collaboration in the form of a festival of light. And we want all of the city's communities and people to come together and take part in that amazing collaborative festival. We believe that the future of Portsmouth is incredible from a cultural perspective, and we just want our city to be recognised as a world-class example of a truly cultural city. A better place for people to visit, a better place for people to live, a better place for people to work, and of course a better place for people to play.